Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I'm Cristiano Ronaldo and welcome to another Go Natural English lesson. Today I want to explore a question that many of you have been asking through the comments and messages on YouTube. One of you reached out and asked for help with understanding when and how to use the article, the, in English. I really appreciate this question because I know it's something that often causes confusion for English learners. Articles in English can be tricky, especially if your native language doesn't use them the same way. But don't worry. Today I'm going to guide you through it step by step so it becomes clear and manageable. Think of this as a conversation where we work together to make things simpler and more intuitive. Articles like the are used to talk about specific things that both the speaker and the listener understand or recognize. That's why we call the a definite article. It helps us point to a particular item or concept. So for example, if I say, the moon, we all know I'm talking about that one moon that lights up the night sky. It's not just any moon, it's the moon. The same goes for the sun or the earth. These are universal references that everyone understands, so we naturally use the with them. It gives our sentence clarity and helps the listener know exactly what we mean. Another good way to understand when to use the is by looking at places we visit in everyday life. For example, we say things like, I'm going to the post office, or I stopped by the grocery store. Even if we're not talking about the exact same post office or store every time, we still use the because these are places we all commonly refer to. They are familiar locations in our day-to-day routines, so it makes sense to use the when mentioning them. The same logic applies to places like the hospital, the library, the laundromat, or even the corner store. These are shared ideas and locations we all recognize, so the fits naturally in those sentences. Now let's take a closer look at how the is used with countries. There are only a few countries that actually require the before their name. For example, we say the United States, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, or the Republic of Korea. The key here is that when a country's official name includes words like states, kingdom, republic, or anything that makes it sound like a formal title or political entity, we usually include the. So you wouldn't say United States, you'd say the United States. That little word, that signals that we're referring to something official and specific. Now moving on to abstract concepts like love or time. These are tricky because they can be used both in general and in specific ways. When we say, love is important, we're speaking about love in a broad, general sense. But when we say, the love of a mother is powerful, now we're talking about a specific type of love, and that's when we add the. It's the same idea with time. If I say, do you remember the time we got lost in the mountains? I'm talking about a particular memory. But if I just say, I don't have time, I'm speaking in general terms without needing to be specific. So you can see how the helps us zoom in on something in particular. Singular countable nouns are another big area where the often comes into play. If you can count it, like a cat, a book, or a chair, then when you refer to one specific cat, book, or chair, you'll want to use the. For example, the cat is sleeping on the sofa, means a specific cat that we both know about. If it was just any cat, I might say, a cat, but since I know which one I'm talking about, the cat is correct. So the general rule is, if both you and your listener can identify what you're talking about, or if it's something already mentioned, the is the article to use. Another important point to remember is how the is used with things that are unique or one of a kind. Things like the sky, the internet, or the president. In these cases, the shows that we are referring to the only one of its kind or a specific one within a group. For instance, we don't say a sky, because there's only one sky that we all look up at. Likewise, when we say the president, we usually mean the current one or a known figure. It's all about being specific. Now let's take a little detour to examples involving locations and situations. If I say, I'm going to the bank, it might be any bank, but I'm referring to the one I usually go to or one that's understood in the context of our conversation. If I say, a bank, that could be any random one I've never been to. So the article helps the listener understand whether I'm referring to a known or unknown location. We can also use the when talking about experiences or memories. Do you remember the time we watched fireworks on the beach? Here, the time means a particular moment that we both recall. In contrast, I don't have time means time in general, without referencing a specific occasion. It's subtle, but once you start paying attention, it gets easier to recognize when and why we use the. Also, the is common when we talk about things like instruments or parts of the body. We say, he plays the guitar, or she hurt her arm but the doctor said it's healing well. We say, the guitar, because we're not referring to just any random guitar, but the instrument itself as a concept or perhaps a known object. The same goes for body parts like the hand or the eye. It's also helpful to know that some idiomatic expressions in English rely on using the. For example, in the morning, in the past, in the future, or on the way. These are fixed phrases where the is always used because they refer to specific moments, directions, or concepts. Even if you don't always fully understand the rule behind each use, being exposed to these common expressions will help build your natural sense of what sounds right. Now, one more thing to keep in mind is that language is a living, breathing thing. People use the in everyday conversations without even thinking about it because they've heard it so many times in the right context. That's why my biggest piece of advice is to keep listening to native speakers, whether it's in shows, podcasts, movies, or YouTube lessons like this one. Notice how the is used and try to absorb it naturally. And if you make a mistake, don't worry. That's part of learning. Over time, your instincts will sharpen and your usage will improve. So thank you for spending this time with me today and learning more about how to use the correctly. I'm really excited to keep helping you grow your English skills. If you'd like to dive deeper into common doubts and confusing topics in English, I invite you to explore my ESL troubleshooting course. You'll find plenty of video lessons, summaries, and quizzes designed to boost your confidence and help you become more fluent. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you don't miss new lessons as soon as they're posted. Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of today's topic or share your own examples using the. I always enjoy hearing from you and reading your thoughts. Thanks again and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.